Hello and welcome to our video series for leaders in IT. Today's question is all about how do I improve problem solving skills within my team? So according to the World Economic Forum, problem solving is the number one skill that's needed now and going forward. And I would say that's absolutely true.
Yeah, it is. Being able to solve complex problems. Second, I think, is critical thinking.
Yes.
And as you said, they're very heavily related.
And then you have analytical thinking and skills and
Exactly. So it's an important thing. I've found in many teams that I've worked with, troubleshooting or problem solving. I'm yet to meet someone that was taught good problem solving skills during their education at school. There's some critical thinking stuff there, perhaps, but I rarely meet people who have a method or a way of approaching problems, which phoning the supplier or Googling it is part of, but isn't really troubleshooting or problem solving. That's more being able to prove your point. Anyway, so how do we help people with that? I'd probably start around a general point in terms of complexity, that it's very easy to see a situation and think that the answer is much more simple than it really is, a mismatch of environment, if you will. So I like the fact that the World Economic Forum talks about complex problem solving. Complex problem solving is the kind of place you're going to be where the cause and effect relationship it will exist there somewhere, but you won't know that in advance. As you approach the situation, you wouldn't necessarily be able to predict how you got to that point. So the default response that some people might have of, okay, being patronising, restart the server, or we had problem with that switch last week, therefore it's the same switch, are all the kind of things you've got to help your teams get past. If we've talked about it on here, and we've certainly written about it, this slips straight into Daniel Kahneman's work around thinking systems in your brain. So system one, the quick thinking that you do, which is where your biases live, and system two, which is the cognitive, energy heavy part of your brain. But that's the one that we need when we come to troubleshooting, because we need to be thinking about facts and patterns and things that take some conscious thought. What we're not looking for here is an immediate belief that we found the answer because of our fast brain.
And it's a challenge in the environment that we operate in today. You know, everything's coming at you. Things are moving really quickly. So being able to take that conscious step and say, I'm going to focus on this, and then come up with barriers where you get frustrated and annoyed and procrastinate about it, to really punch through that and dig deep, really. I mean, it's pretty tough, and we're asking a lot, but it's really important that we do that.
We are. A simple thing that you could adopt immediately is just a question during a troubleshoot or during a problem that you're trying to solve, simply asking before an action is taken, do I believe that this action will have an impact on the problem, or was that effect? That's not necessarily a beautifully crafted question. What I'm trying to encourage you to do and to do with your teams is to just take a moment to pause. So does it make sense that the symptoms we're seeing could be related to the thing that we want to make the change on? And when we make that change, what are we expecting to see as a result of it? That starts to move your thinking away from, well, let's just give it a go, to I'm intentionally taking this action, these are the results that I expect. Be scientific about it. That gives you an opportunity to then react. And you'll get much better data during the incident, and of course better data to follow up with it afterwards too. We tried this experiment and it didn't work. Here's the reason why. We tried this experiment, it did work, and we learned something. So I'd certainly, that's a place to start. Improving troubleshooting skills, one, is helping your team to think in a more systematic way and get them out of their system one world, which is easier said than done. There's probably some more general tips, I think. We've talked about some of these in other environments. Look out for superheroes, so people that always fix the problem.
Yeah.
That's a single point of failure is always a concern anyhow. But if you've only got one person that can fix a particular technology, that will bite you. A way to help is to get other people obviously involved when there are those incidents, get them working with that person and give that person some encouragement to support and train and teach.
Well, that's right. A good place to be with a superhero is if you encourage them to do a lunch and learn or something, so they're still being a superhero, but they're sharing their knowledge and spreading their ideas. So their knowledge isn't just fixed with that one person.
No, agreed. Celebrate the sharing, not the... That's a really good point. Celebrate the sharing, not the doing.
Yeah.
Otherwise you'll just reinforce that behaviour. I would suggest, you, given that, come back to WEF Economic Forum saying it's number one, are you testing for troubleshooting, problem solving skill at interview as well for new hires into your team or as moves happen? Have you had much experience of that, people testing for problem solving skills?
Yeah, so you can ask certain questions. So for example, because there's other things you want to test too at interview. So I always test for learning agility, so how quickly they can move through and cut through and punch through the challenge that they're facing, how adaptable they are, and we can talk about AQ in a separate video. There's EQ and EI, and measuring all of those.
EIO.
Yeah, exactly. Old McDonald.
Old McDonald had a trouble. Yeah, right.
So, but you can test for resilience and blah blah blah, all those things. But if you ask some questions at interview, so for example, if you want to hire a student, for example, or a graduate, and they haven't necessarily had the real life work experience, you can ask them what they do in their spare time. So if you find suddenly that they're building computers or they're building an app or building a mobile technology, something that interests them, and then you ask some questions around it, and what you'll quickly see is how they're troubleshooting their own problems they're facing, how they're thinking about it, and you'll find they become quite energized by it, so you'll get those EQ moments coming through, and that's a really good way. So asking the right questions, as well as creating a scenario or almost like an assessment centre, but a team day where they can come in and do some practical skills, because you'll quickly see those pieces shine, and that's what you want to harness and then bring into your environment. Yeah,
I will say, because I felt slightly guilty about saying the Googling thing earlier. Let's imagine we've got a candidate coming in who's solving a problem. Find me any engineer anywhere, any developer, infrastructure engineer, whatever, that doesn't have access to Google and other many resources right now. Of course they do. That's part of troubleshooting. So if a candidate during an interview, when you say come in and solve this problem, if as part of their work they Google something, that's great. What you're looking for is they're Googling perhaps for some hypotheses that they can test against the facts that they've got. That's the connection you want people to see. Obviously just blindly stabbing, finding an article from 2008 and downloading the patch and seeing what happens probably tells you a lot about how they approach a problem. You have to come back to the system 2 stuff, start assuming you know nothing and build up from there. The final point I would make, there are some troubleshooting methods out there, or problem solving thinking methods out there that can help build some practice, some great practice in your teams that will switch teams down to system 2 faster. I work and have done for a long time with 𝐬𝐤𝐻𝐿𝐻. 𝐬𝐤𝐻𝐿𝐻's troubleshooting approaches or problem solving approaches encourage you to gather facts and then test them. So effectively what we've been talking about here, that's a great way to instantiate new behaviours in a team and then lift up the peg. There are other practices and other processes existing too, so check that out.
So we hope that helps and gives you some tips to take away and use today. If you have anything you'd like to share with us, we'd love to hear from you. But for now, we'll say goodbye. Thank you.